Hello, LMVSC families. My name is Lula Bauer, and I am the club's executive director. Welcome to the 2021 Travel Soccer Parent Meeting presentation. Joining me today is Julian Lee Chang, our technical director, and Fabian Lewis, our director of coaches. Thank you for tuning in. So I just wanted to briefly go over with you the entire club's club structure as well as the travel program structure. We have a board of directors, and I report to the board of directors. In terms of the travel soccer program, Julian Lee Chang is our technical director, and Fabian Lewis is our director of coaching. Then we have our academy head coach and our team head coach. Also on our travel soccer program team is Jennifer Deems, Director of Public Relations, and Jesse Gore, our club administrator and finance manager. So with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to our technical director, Julian Lee Chang.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening. Here is our annual training schedule. The only thing missing here would be our summer training, which starting next week, we will begin our official fall training program. The fall training program will run from August 15th to November 20th. It will be academy-wide age group training for the older age groups. During the season, in the off season, we do 2 times per week in the summer and the winter. And during season, we do 3 times per week. Due to COVID-19, there is no fall 2020 PAT program because of the restrictions not enabling us to have the atmosphere and the great festive atmosphere with the food trucks and everything that we had last year. But as soon as we're past this COVID-19 situation, we plan to resume that, and as it was very well loved and based on our surveys by our parents. Our league play, all of our teams play in CCL or in NCSL, and both leagues will be starting as a normal season right after Labor Day weekend. The winter program typically will start after Thanksgiving. This year we'll start November 30th and run to the end of February 26th. During the winter, we'll do 2 times per week training, as well as futsal for our players. And the spring, we roll right into the spring, starting March 1st, and that will run till June 11th. And in between that time, we will also have our trials for the upcoming year, as we do in a typical year. Although this year obviously had been different due to the current circumstances. And again, fall and spring, we have our academy age group training 3 times per week and our regular league play. These are training sites. For our travel program, we typically use turf fields. Edison High School, there are 2 fields, the stadium and the practice field. And Hayfield Secondary School, we also have access to the stadium and the practice field. Lee District Park Turf Field, and West Potomac High School Stadium and practice field, as well as Bryant Alternative Schools Turf Field. We also have access to grass fields, 2 grass fields at Manchester Lakes Park. There's field number 1 and field number 2. They're grass fields, but right now they're in wonderful condition, and we may use that for some events coming up in the fall, as there may be a need to spread out our field usage. The curriculum, we have a age and level appropriate curriculum. As has happened last fall, we have every single training session is visible within play metrics that the players will be working on. And there are the micro and macro cycle progressions, the micro cycle being what the progression is throughout the week, and then the macro cycle being throughout the season. The training objectives, we plan to, in starting this fall, disseminate to parents at the beginning of each month. We'll also be having more rigorous benchmarks and measurables using our monthly player testing based on curriculum, and we'll have remediation strategies in place where parents will receive reports on areas of individual player deficiencies and how those players and where those players need to work on in order to maintain the progress with the rest of the group. There will be, as always, director oversight at training and matches. The TD and DOC or DOC will attend at least one, and as many as schedules permit, training and match per season. As part of our testing program, we have the performance testing program. The objectives are to track individual player progress. The idea is to focus on long-term player development rather than have the players worry about the short-term results. We want them to establish an understanding of the importance of goal setting and how they need to create a roadmap for themselves to where they want to go down the road and where they want the game to take them. We want to use this to incentivize our players to train on their own towards increasing their technical speed and their technical proficiency. And this will also allow us to provide to the players and the parents, as well as the coaching staff and technical staff, empirical data on the player progress in order to augment the player evaluation forms that we have had in place. The components of this performance testing program are foot skills, which, to give you examples, are corvers, step over, scissors. How quickly can they execute that in a finite amount of time, so that we can measure their technical speed and how much quicker they're gaining over time in these ball mastery components, as well as striking and receiving, passing and receiving, such as utilizing a wall and being able to receive and strike the ball with various parts of the foot. And we'll also be incorporating athletic performance tracking, which will measure their speed, agility, and quickness. And all this is for us to see where the players are going, where players need remediation, need help to catch up, and continue along a very strong and clear developmental pathway. The player evaluations, we will have 2 evaluations throughout the season. One being the formal, which will be an in-person meeting that will include parents, especially for U15 and below players. For those older, that'll be optional for the parents to join in. And an informal evaluation will be the form being sent to the players. Think of it sort of like a report card. There will be no meeting needed at any point throughout the season. The parents are welcome to coordinate and schedule a meeting with the team head coach, academy head coach, and directors. And you're free to do so after the informal evaluation as well, but the coach will not be scheduling one until the formal evaluation. The informal evaluation, as I said, is the report card or progress report, and that will be completed through the month of November by December 1st. The formal evaluation, which will be the meetings being scheduled, to be completed through the month of March by April 1st, prior to the start of the spring season. And this will give the parents an opportunity to ask questions as to what the vision is for their player, where they need to go, what they need to really seriously work on, and what the expectations will be leading into the trial season, which would be 4 to 8 weeks later. Both evaluations will include an assessment form request via Play Metrics. There will also be, so that you're aware, within the academy, as we've stated previously, the academy is really fundamentally about making sure that each player is at the right place at the right time in terms of competitive environment, so that they can make the most out of their development in each moment. So monthly informal assessments of players via discussion with the academy staff and our director of coaches, Fabian Lewis, pertaining to player movement recommendations within the academy or amongst different academies based on the needs of each child. And here we're going to talk about our communications, and I'm going to pass the mic over to our Director of Coaches, Fabian.
Thank you, Lee. Good evening, Lehman Brothers families. I hope everyone is safe, and thank you for taking the time to listen to us. So we have three main ways we communicate with our members. One is the Patriots Post. Through the Patriots Post, it's more a general form of communication which goes out weekly, and we communicate club events, training games, highlighting players, etc. The second means of communication is through play metrics, which is inclusive to the teams, the families, and we would communicate more detailed information as it pertains to specific teams. In play metrics, you can find director, coach, manager, and teammates information. You will also be able to access and view club resources, such as evaluations that has been submitted by coaches, view the weekly training sessions that's put forth by the coaches, and receive assessments and view player profiles. And finally, we also use our social media platforms. Lehman Vernon we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we use these social media also to communicate with our members. Once again, pertaining to the club, highlighting individual achievements, team achievements, and updating latest information. For example, a last-minute cancellation because of the weather, inclement weather, and things of that nature. Next slide, please. Over here, we have an escalation policy. And this also is how we kindly ask our members to communicate with our staff. So first, if there's any issues, concerns, something that you need to find clarity about, first person we recommend you speak to is the team head coach. And as you guys are aware, the team head coach would be that coach of that particular team under our academy structure. If that coach isn't able to help answer a question, then we would recommend that you speak to the academy head coach, which is the coach that oversees the entire academy, which is all age groups. The third person we recommend that you reach out to in the event that that person isn't able to assist you would be myself. I'm the director of coaches. And if I'm unable to do it, I will pass you over to Coach Julian Lee Chan, who's technical director. From there, if the issue is still not able to resolve, or if the issue needs to be escalated to someone else, we recommend that you reach out to Lula Bauer, who is our executive director. And then finally, the last person, or last point I should say of contact, should be Coach Ozzy Jimenez, our travel soccer commissioner, who also helps us out with coaching time to time, which is why I mentioned him as a coach. So here you have it, folks. This is our escalation policy. And should you have any questions or concerns, I would recommend you do it in that fashion. Coaching standards. So we at Lehman Vernon, we put together some standards that we want the coaches to follow, as well as what we want the players to follow. So here is our coaching standards. First, at Lehman Vernon, we take a player-centric approach to developing our players and, by extension, the teams. And what that means is the player would always come first. We want the player to be first. We expect our coaches to perform with a high level of professionalism, integrity, and be committed to each individual as well as the team. At this tender age, youth soccer, we also expect our coaches to be good role models. We feel very strong about our coaches taking a leadership approach and helping these players be better human beings for our society in the future. So being a good role model is very, very important for us. An effective leader and communicator. a good trainer, mentor, and teacher, and more importantly, dedicating to provide a safe, fun, and challenging environment for our players. These are the player standards, and I know everyone that is involved in travel has made a level of commitment to that particular team, and we are all in this together. So we recommend that all players are punctual to all events, practice and games. We also recommend that they show a high level of discipline in practice and games. And what I mean by that is teaching them how to behave in a training environment, how to behave in a game environment, understanding that when the coach is coaching, that they are listening attentively, understanding that when the referee is giving instructions, that they listen and they understand, and if they don't ask questions, all this is part of having discipline. Commitment, and commitment, we mean being committed to training, being committed to games. As I mentioned before, all of us are making a huge commitment to be part of the travel team, taking time out of our days on Saturday and Sunday to go to a game 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes away. So we really would like each player to be committed to their particular team and to the games. Now, I want to dive in a bit deeper with commitment. When we speak about showing up to practice, that's one form of commitment. Showing up to game, that's a good form of commitment as well. But also commitment even in the game. Give it everything that you have to the rest of your teammates. That is also a big part of commitment as well. Respecting the referees, respecting our teammates, respecting the opponents, the parents, the environment, being ready to clean up after ourselves. This is another standard that we would like to have for our players. Being leaders, not waiting for the coach to show up to the field, for example, to set the field up. And I see a lot of our teams that are ready to go, where they show up to the field and they are already warming up. They're ready to take the field. And this is one form of leadership. Asking questions if you're not sure is another form of leadership. We want to encourage a good relationship with our players and coach. And in saying that, we want to ask players to go to the coach, to ask the coach questions, to ask questions in halftime during the team environment, to give their 2 cents to the team on what they think should be done to help the group improve in that particular moment. Showing good resilience, not giving up. Of course, we don't do this for wins and losses. We're not going to win every game. We would like to win some, but we know that we're going to lose some. But we want players to be resilient and not give up, regardless of if it's 2-0, 10-0, but to show the same attitude. Because ultimately, this is part of their development and their preparation for life. And in life, there's going to be obstacles, and soccer is a means of helping them prepare for that. So you want them to push through difficult moments. And finally, being responsible. And I know, for a simple example, a lot of parents sometimes invest a lot of money in buying equipment for their kids, and then the kids, they leave this equipment on the field. Balls are lost every practice, water bottles, jackets. This is one form of being responsible. We want players to understand that these are their tools. They need these things to practice and to have a successful practice. They need these things to hydrate themselves during halftime at games. So you want them to be responsible in these moments. Packing their soccer stuff night before practice, making sure that everything is packed, ready to go, making sure their ball is pumped, ready to go, making sure that they have the right size ball. Coming into practice and leaving practice, making sure that the ball is their ball. These are all forms of responsibility, and that we ask the players to, and we are going to try our best to hold these players to these standards. And this said, I will pass it over to Coach Julian Chan. He will provide information on this present slide.
Thank you, Coach. So our community standards is what we expect for everyone. You know, our parents, our fans, siblings, everyone involved with our soccer community. First and foremost, you know, maintaining a positive attitude before, during, and after matches. You know, cheering on the team, highly encouraged. You know, we want to push our kids and make them feel good about what they're doing. But at the same time, we need to refrain from sideline coaching. You know, a lot of voices going on at the same time and hearing different bits of information can get in the way of the development process, and more importantly, hinder that kid from really enjoying it to the fullest. You know, we want them to be able to make their own decisions and play and take ownership over their game and learn all those things that Coach Fabian so eloquently put on the previous slide. And so part of that is allowing those kids, you know, it's very natural, you know, as parents, we want the best for our kids and we want them to do well. But we have to allow them to make their own mistakes, allow them to fail, because it's through those mistakes and those failures that they improve and they grow as people and as players. So while we want to cheer them on and encourage them, we want to really refrain from giving too much information or any information. We let the coaches and their teammates do their jobs on the field. Volunteerism and contributing to our soccer community is welcomed and encouraged. There's lots of things to do in a non-for-profit 501c3 community-based organization such as ourselves. So anyone with the time and the proclivity to be a part of our community and help, we definitely encourage that. And we want all parents to be, and the players, to be both positive and proactive in communicating with coaching staff and the technical staff. So sometimes, you know, we hold things, we're not sure if we should say them, and we wait and we wait and we wait, and sometimes we wait too late. So if there are any issues, however big or however small they may seem, we want to encourage you guys to communicate, and as Coach Fabian just went over the escalation policy, you know, find where on that ladder that communication needs to go to, and let's get those issues addressed. Anyone who would like to, you know, back to volunteering, please reach out to me. Here's my email address, julianleechang@lmvsc.org, and we'll definitely find ways to help you contribute and help us improve our community. And speaking of community, we want to create a culture of community and a club culture. And these are the different components specific to our travel program in which we do that. First off is about establishing and building a style of play. We want that game to be a possession-based soccer game where we, the players, want to maintain the ball as opposed to a counterattack, defending and counterattacking game. And the reason being is because we believe it's the best way to develop our players. They have the ball more, they're going to develop the technical skills and the tactical skills to play soccer at the next level, which is our goal for our players that have that desire. The other thing is high pressure defending. So when we lose the ball, we want to get it back again. Again, we want to control the game. We want to control the ball. So, you know, we want our players to be very aggressive and persistent in wanting to win the ball. now require a high degree of psychological intensity and physical conditioning, which is what we build in the training ground. We also want our players to have a lot of an individual flair. There's a lot of history in this club of having highly technical players that have played at higher levels, at the national level, international level, the professional level, and collegiate level. And the club has a long history of players that have that individual creativity and flair. And we want to continue building that and growing that throughout our club at all levels, so that those players understand the structure and understand how to work as a team and how to be selfless, but also have that ability to take control of the game and be difference makers at the appropriate times. Also part of building this club culture, and this is from the coaching and the technical staff level, is building and continuing to build a cohesive, unified philosophy and methodology. This methodology and philosophy is based on building a strong technical foundation, as well as those players' increasing level of temporospatial awareness, which is understanding how time and space impacts decisions on the field, and where to go, when to dribble versus pass, when to shoot versus cross, etc. We want those players to understand probability distribution. What are high degrees of probability to score, to pass, to dribble, when they should be doing what. So that's really about understanding the tactics of the game. We want to continue to build and grow their athletic ability as well. Now, with our tournament play, we began this prior to COVID last year with creating more club-wide events to further establish a sense of camaraderie and community. We have many teams at the same tournament, so that they can encourage each other, support each other, and parents can have more opportunities to interact and get to know each other and further enmesh themselves within our Alexandria community, Lee Mount Vernon community, and our soccer community. We are going to start instituting five-a-side intra-club events in order to also further foster that sense of everyone knowing each other, learning from each other, and growing with each other. So we're currently in the situation. There has to be some adjustments, as you might imagine, as we have been adjusting, and we continue to do so. In terms of our league play, CCL play will be regionalized, and they'll be reducing the need for extensive travel, throughout Virginia. They'll be more based on Northern Virginia. When there is the need to play a team at a further distance, then a more centralized location will be found between both clubs, so that there's no need for extensive travel at this time outside of the immediate community. There will also be no penalization in CCL for teams unwilling to play due to safety concerns. So as a club, we will continue to monitor as part of our game day preparations who our opponents are and what the situation is there at that given time, and determine if it's feasibly safe for us to participate in matches. And we will continue, as we have always done, encourage parent feedback as to make sure that all of our families are comfortable with that competitive phase of what we do as a club. NCSL will resume as normal, with the exception of there's fewer teams in the league, because it's mainly now a Northern Virginia league, as few Maryland teams are participating this season, as we have received word from the executive director of NCSL on that. So that is actually a big positive for us, as that there will be, by default, a reduced need for extensive travel within NCSL. And the majority of our games, we may end up with a lot more home games than we normally would in a typical NCSL season, which is also great. And non-home games will, by and large, be mainly within Northern Virginia. As far as tournament play is concerned, Fairfax County has banned all tournament play. Fairfax County is allowing for league play and matches to be played, which allows us to continue our return to the fields and our return to normalcy. But tournament play, because many teams within tournaments travel from all over into Fairfax County as a safety measure, there are no tournaments. So as a club, we plan to follow suit during that time and follow that guideline for our teams to refrain from tournament play. But we do understand some teams have a need to play in particularly college showcases and get exposure, and we will review those and grant exceptions on a case-by-case basis as long as we can ensure the safety of all of our members. And as for the COVID-19 refund policy, please rest assured that in the event that the season will need to be canceled, we can no longer train and play games and resume normal operations. The club will provide prorated refunds in that event. So in terms of if those that have paid in full will receive money back, and those that are on a payment plan, there will be money reduced on those according to when or if or where the cancellation occurs. So a little bit more on that as to what we're doing in-house. Each age group or each academy is now its own cohort group. And so we use these cohort groups to establish contact tracing and to be able to shut down in the event of an outbreak. And we have continued to be very diligent on doing the health screenings of our staff and our players, and so that we can track and make sure that we are continuing to keep our community, our players, our staff, our families safe as possible during this time. Any staff member or player showing symptoms of COVID-19 and/or has been exposed to someone with COVID-19 within the previous 14 days will be required to stay home and self-monitor. If there is primary exposure, the entire age group will be required to self-quarantine for 14 days. Distance learning will then take the place of field training during that quarantine period. Daily health screening will remain in place throughout the pandemic. Screening and our training grids aids in our contact tracing efforts to make sure we can notify everyone and again, ensure the safety of our community. Coaches will now be required to wear masks when within 10 feet of players, parents, or any other staff. Our player stations will be maintained, so when they're doing their water breaks, when they show up to the field, all their equipment will remain 10 feet away from anyone else. We've actually typically have been maintaining 15 feet of distance with our player stations. So at a minimum 10 feet for equipment, for water breaks, so that prolonged exposure during training sessions can be minimized. And as an extension of that, our physical distance measures will be maintained during warm-ups, cool-downs, substitutions, and water breaks, where the players are in more sedentary positions for longer periods of time. Coach?
Thanks, Coach Lee. So in addition to this meeting that we are virtually sending to you guys right now with all this information, there will also be age group academy coaches meetings that will be scheduled virtually via Zoom with each particular academy and the coaches. After we select managers for each particular teams, and just FYI, we are still interested in having your support. So if you are able to help us fill some of these voids in the areas of being a manager, please let us know. We will be sending you a presentation on things that you might need to know, and I'll also be sent electronically via email. We also have the support of the club's registrar, which is on the girls' side, Carol Montoya. Her email is listed over here, registrargirls@lmvsc.org, as well as Shelley Spicer. She'll be the boys' registrar, and her email is listed here as registrarboys@lmvsc.org. Uniforms. I know a lot of you guys have been asking about uniforms. Now that we are closing in on finalizing managers who will assist us with this process, this will be done on soccer.com, and an admin link will be sent to each team manager, and they'll begin ordering uniforms for your child. So please be on the lookout for that link for team meetings from the academy head coaches, as that will help you get more information regarding some of your questions. Lula, you are on mute.
Oh.
There we go.
There we go. Sorry about that, but thank you everybody for tuning in and listening, and thank you Julian Lee Chang, our technical director, and Fabian Lewis, our director of coaching. That was great information. Thank you for sharing that. As we move forward, if you should have any questions with anything that was presented during our parent meeting, virtual parent meeting, please contact either Julian Lee Chang, our technical director, his email is listed there, and or Fabian Lewis, and his email is listed there as well. And also, if you should have questions, our academy team meetings are being scheduled now. You should, like as Fabian has mentioned, you should be getting a link and information about that. If you should have any questions about this presentation, please be sure to ask your coach as well. We're looking forward to the fall season. It's been a very, very long several months since March 12th. We have been very excited to be working with your children on the field, and we look forward to a great 2021 season. Thank you for attending. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.